I'm Tulsa World meteorologist Kirsten Lang. Thanks for joining me. Let's give you an update on this wacky winter weather that we have been seeing here this morning. A lot of you may have been thinking, oh my goodness, it's hailing outside. I hear thunder. This sounds like a spring storm. Some of you may be getting some snowfall, little thunder snow out there. And then, of course, we had some slick roadways this morning when we were starting to, because we were dealing with freezing drizzle across parts of the area. So what we're looking at is thunder sleet within Tulsa. And that's because what we have is kind of warmer air that it has moved in. So you have snowfall that falls from the cloud. And then warmer air has nuzzled its way kind of in there, which means that then it melts. But then we have cold air here at the surface, of course, because temperatures, are right around 20 degrees or so outside. And so then the colder air at the surface is thick enough, and I say thick, I mean from the surface up, thick enough to where it then refreezes into sleet. But then on top of that, there's enough instability from that warm air that has been moved in that we're actually getting some thunder out there. So all of it is it's very rare. I will say that this is a very rare situation to have thunder sleet across the area. But that's what we're dealing with this morning. And, I know there's been a lot of school closures overnight because we had freezing drizzle across the area overnight. And that freezing drizzle just caused kind of a glaze out there. And freezing drizzle is hard because it doesn't really show up very well on the radar. It doesn't show up on computer models. So it's really difficult to get pick up on that freezing drizzle. So here's how it's looking outside with our radar currently. We're just kind of right there on the edge. I'm going to put it in a loop here for you so you can see how it's just kind of accumulated across the area over the past, call it 30 minutes to an hour or so. Now, models are suggesting that this should start to taper off just a bit and actually push down towards the south and the southeast. And areas south of I-44 are actually going to be experiencing higher accumulations of ice and sleet than we will here in Tulsa. But in Tulsa, we are under a winter weather advisory, and that's because we're looking at the possibility of about half of an inch of ice accumulation. And a fun fact that the Tulsa National Weather Service put out there was that this sleet is actually going to show up as snowfall accumulation. Even though it's sleet, it'll be recorded as snow. All right, so here again is what we're looking at on our radar across the area. And again, I'm going to stop it so you can see what we're looking at right now. So just south of Tulsa towards Broken Arrow and Bixby, you see lightning has been detected in that area. Midtown Tulsa too, moving up towards here's kind of that changeover sleet. Some of you may be seeing some snow up towards Claremore, Inola, along Interstate 412. We're having 412 there, and then Interstate I-44. We are looking at probably some pretty impactful travel situations there. The sleet, I mean, even just looking outside my house, I mean, it's accumulated pretty good. And so it just makes it a little slick. Also, when it comes to sleet versus freezing rain, I put this up earlier on my Facebook page, but, sleet is always going to be something that you're going to want over freezing rain. It's not ideal, but it's probably over freezing rain because the freezing rain is going to just cause the slick glaze. And the sleet is going to be more kind of bouncing off, of the ground. So while it's still slick, it's definitely not as, I'd say, impactful. It still is. I don't want to belittle it, but it's not as impactful as half an inch of ice accumulation. That really, I mean, a lot of you, of course, have been here probably for a while. You know that's a big deal. So, all right, so here we go. Just kind of giving you a little tour of the radar. Broken Arrow down towards Bixby, Coweta, Haskell, Eggs. This is where we're picking up on some lightning right now. Tulsa kind of on the edge here, so you're kind of seeing, a little bit of some sleet in some spots. And then, like I mentioned too, getting some snowfall in some areas as well. Temperatures are cold, and again, that's that cold air. So the difference between sleet and freezing rain, you're going to have very shallow cold air, but the sleet, it's going to be, the sleet is going to be a little bit thicker at the surface. And I apologize, I'm working from home, so many of you probably understand this, but I've got the kids with me, so it's probably what you're hearing. going back to this again, sleet is a little bit shallower at the surface, or rather freezing rain is, and then sleet, you have kind of a thicker level of that sub-freezing air, which means it has time to refreeze before hitting the ground, whereas freezing rain hits the ground as rain, but then freezes upon contact. So we have kind of a thicker layer of freezing air, and that's why we see sleet versus freezing rain this morning. Okay, so heading through, again, these are our temperatures. And as we take a look at our futurecast and back it up here, again, our computer models suggesting that this moves out around lunchtime. It could kind of hang on a little bit longer, but most of it will push to the south, see south, southeast, Oklahoma dealing with it, northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, they'll be dealing with this then as we head into the afternoon. And I think we'll get a little bit more of a break until, here's the overnight hours, and be mindful, some of the sleet that you see accumulated out here probably won't go anywhere very much because it's so cold and it's not going to get any warmer. It's not like it's going to be getting back up above freezing. So you could still have some slick roads and the fall risk too. That's something I think that I worry about a lot too, because it's just, you don't think about it, but you're walking on a sidewalk or you're walking on just a parking lot and you just hit a spot and you can fall and hurt yourself. So really be mindful of that as well. The fall risk is great. Okay, then we go into tomorrow morning, and here we go again, another round of some sleet, some wintry weather. And each day we're kind of taking it day by day, knowing that we're going to have some sort of wintry weather across the area, but not necessarily knowing what form it could take. Because so we could get a little bit more cold air that starts to move in, and you could see a little bit more snowfall tomorrow, or potentially we could be seeing a little more freezing rain. It's kind of that mix there, and I think definitely going into Wednesday and Thursday, that wintry mix is more prevalent, whereas today and tomorrow, sleet is probably going to be the thing that we deal with the most. All right, so then that moves out tomorrow morning, so kind of the repeat type deal. And then again, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have another round, another kind of rush of moisture that comes into the area that brings more wintry weather. As far as watches and warnings, we're under winter weather advisory right now until 6 a.m., including Tulsa County. And as I mentioned before, that's because we're looking at the possibility of about a half of an inch of ice accumulation. All right, 7-day planner, again, wintry weather through Wednesday, Thursday morning, potentially, and then it starts to get warm. And we're finally, back up seeing those upper 40s, low 50s by Thursday, Friday, sunshine out there. And then 50s this weekend, which looks really great right about right now, I think, with a lot of people, dealing with this issue. So anyways, that's kind of an update for this mid-morning. We'll have more for you as we go through the day today, just kind of letting you know how things are progressing here across eastern Oklahoma. Stay safe.